to bring her lawsuit, the case, the attack took place decades ago?
Sure. Amy, make no mistake about this. These are Columbia University's patients. These weren't Robert Haddon's patients. These were patients of Columbia University. Columbia has the medical records. Columbia has the patient lists. Columbia did all the billing. In 2016, the state of New York ordered that all of Haddon's patients be notified that he lost his license. But Columbia is saying that the burden isn't on them, it's on Robert Haddon. That is outrageous. They weren't Haddon's patients, they were Columbia's patients, and Columbia's the only one that could possibly contact them. But they're refusing to do it, and that's why we're pushing. And here's why this is important, okay? It's not just about the Adult Survivors Act, although that is important. I've gotten countless phone calls from women who, they happen to see this on the news or they see it on social media, and they call me and they're like, oh my God, this happened to me 15 years ago. And I've been carrying this around thinking that I was the only person, like maybe I did something wrong to invite this. They need to know that they're not alone. They shouldn't be having to carry this burden around with them for their entire lives because Columbia's administration refuses to send them a notification letter to let them know that Robert Haddon is a convicted sexual predator who they covered up for.
I want to turn to Belkis Hall, who I also spoke to at Wednesday's protest at Columbia University.
This is Belkis Hall. I was a patient from 2005 to 2010. I had asked my friends that had seen him if they thought there was something wrong, and they said no. So I continued to go, thinking it was natural. It wasn't only until last December that I found out that I have been abused over and over. He loved to give pain to his patients, and we thought that was normal. Let it not normalize it. If you ever feel there's something wrong, listen to your gut and speak out. Yes. Keep speaking out. Keep spreading the word because this is not over.
Yes. That was Belkis Hull speaking through a loudspeaker and speaking to, along with Lori Maldonado, another guest we've had on, a victim of Dr. Haddon, through a little bullhorn, as they also thank the medical students for coming forward. One of the things that Belkis Hull talked about was the pain that Dr. Haddon had put these patients through, like Lori Maldonado, who went for a checkup. She didn't know that most people don't go for endless checkups during their 9 months, but Haddon kept calling her in 2 months before he gave birth. And as she lay on the examining table, he put his hand up her and punched. And these women at Columbia talked about his inflicting pain, that was part of his sickness and his crime. Anthony DiPietro, if you could comment on this.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of patterns, right? And this is absolutely one of them. He had this sadistic streak where he would inflict pain on women. Oftentimes he would do it if they weren't compliant with other things. And this was part of what he was doing. And again, Columbia knew the entire time. But instead of protecting patients, what they were doing is they were protecting a predator.
So at this point, how has Columbia explained why they haven't sent a letter out to every one of the patients they know hadn't had?
Right. There's no explanation for it. We have been pushing them for years, for 5, 6, 7 years. Send out a letter to the patients, notify them that they didn't do anything wrong, they were exposed to this predator, but their excuse is that the burden is on Haddon, right? Because the order from the state was directed at Haddon. But again, these weren't Haddon's patients. And what is Columbia saying? Is Columbia saying that if Robert Haddon shows up at the medical records office and says, hey, give me, the names and home addresses of all these women that I've been abusing since 1987, that Columbia is going to turn that information over to him? That's ridiculous.
I wanted to go to another clip when we did speak to Lori Maldonado, the former patient of Robert Haddon between 2000, who gave testimony at his sentencing. She described what happened to her when she was 9 months pregnant.
I was sexually assaulted by Robert Haddon 2 days before the birth of my child. I went in for, my checkup. My ex-husband was in the room with me, and we were just excited. I remember that in the office room, I went to the bathroom, and my mucus plug had dropped, so I was really imminent away from the birth, and we were really excited. And Haddon came in the room, and he had a glimmer in his eye, and I thought that glimmer was that he was excited like me for the birth, but now I realize it was an opportunity for him to commit sexual assault. And he later said, one more thing, I need to check you, and he took me behind the curtain, away from my husband, and put me on the exam table. And what I thought was, that he was going to check my cervix just to make sure that the baby was okay. But that's not what happened. What did happen was Haddon used his hands to harm me, and he stuck his fist inside of my vagina. And it was so painful. And I screamed, and I cried out in pain. And he abruptly left the room. My husband, at the time, came over to me, checked on me. He said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not okay." And then he asked me a really important question. He said, "Do you feel violated?" And I said, "Yes."
That's Lori Maldonado. To see the whole interview with her, one of Dr. Haddon's survivors, you can go to democracynow.org. Anthony DiPietro, we want to thank you very much for being with us, attorney representing women who are sexually abused by former Columbia University obstetrician, gynecologist Robert Haddon. DiPietro has filed a new lawsuit against the university and its affiliated hospitals on behalf of an additional 301 patients who were allegedly sexually assaulted by Haddon. Also, this related news. In California, George Tyndall, the former University of Southern California gynecologist accused of sexual abuse by hundreds of students, was found dead at his home this week. USC agreed to pay over $1 billion in settlements to survivors. Survivors have said Tyndall raped or forcibly touched them, made racist and misogynistic comments while he sexually abused them. Tyndall was awaiting trial and out on a $1.3 million bail. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We end today's show with one of the 75,000 healthcare workers with Kaiser Permanente who walked off the job this week in the largest strike of healthcare workers in U.S. history. In California, in Oregon, in Washington, Colorado, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. Talks have failed to yield a new agreement as workers seek higher pay, better staffing, improvements in their pension plans, and other benefits. For more, we're joined on the picket line in Clackamas, Oregon, by Kevin Darden, a patient access representative and a member of the union's local bargaining team at Kaiser Permanente's Sunnyside Medical Center, and Meg Nemi. We're going to begin with you, president of SEIU Local 49. Meg, can you talk about the significance of this 3-day strike and if you've gotten concessions from Kaiser Permanente?
Yeah, I mean, this is a historic strike. 75,000 Kaiser Permanente workers walking off the job to tell Kaiser executives that it's time to end the short staffing crisis.
Can you tell us where you are right now as we look at you in the dark because it's so early in the morning?
I'm out front of Kaiser Sunnyside Medical Center here in Clackamas, Oregon. Our members are setting up their strike line this morning, getting ready to begin our picketing activities.
We want to bring Kevin Darden into the conversation, a patient access representative member of the union's local bargaining team at Kaiser Permanente Sunnyside Medical Center. Kevin, can you talk about your demands and the significance of this largest strike of healthcare workers in U.S. history?
Yes, good morning. What we're here today is we're asking our Kaiser executives to bargain in good faith with us, the frontline healthcare workers. We have the proposals and we have the solutions to solving Kaiser's short staffing crisis. And we're just asking them to come to us and meet with us. We have those solutions and we're hoping they can come and bargain in good faith.
Mm-hmm. And can you talk, Magnimi, about the strategy of doing this 3-day strike?
Yeah, the Kaiser members are out here taking action to get Kaiser to listen to us around patient care, make sure that the patients are getting the care that they actually need. And our members made a decision to say, you know, we're going to walk off the job. We want to do this for a short amount of days, for 3 days, but we have let Kaiser executives know that if we cannot come to an agreement that solves the short staffing crisis, that we'll be out here again.
And can you talk about the scale of the strike? Who's involved? Talking about nurses, medical technicians, pharmacists. Talk about who's out on the strike and also your concern about continuing to care for patients.
Right now, out on this strike across the country are healthcare workers that have been essential workers from across the hospitals and clinics. So we have medical assistants, licensed practical nurses, housekeepers. There are pharmacists. There are dietary workers. There are dental workers. There are literally hundreds and thousands of different workers who are often the people that are closest to delivering patient care. They're the first people that you see. They're the people that are right next to you at the bedside. And all of them have come out here because they care so much about their patients. And they're really concerned about how they've seen a deterioration of care, a deterioration of patients being able to get access to care. And they felt like it was very important that they took this strong stand so that Kaiser Permanente executives will actually turn course and reprioritize patient care.
Kaiser Permanente is the largest nonprofit healthcare organization in the United States. Just how big is it, Magnimi?
No, Kaiser Permanente is a giant healthcare institution. We know that they made over $3 billion in profits already this year. They have $114 billion invested in the stock market. They have a lot of resources. For employees that are represented by our coalition of unions, there are 85,000 Kaiser Permanente employees that are represented in this coalition. There are 75,000 of those workers who had contracts expired and were able to take this action.
And Kevin Darden, can you tell us the response of people in Oregon, around you, in Clackamas, the public officials, and what this 3-day strike has meant?
Yeah, so over the past 2 days that we've been out here, we've had state representatives come out and join us here on the picket line. We've had providers, nurses, community members, Kaiser patients come to us. And, you know, they're driving on this boulevard behind me. They're honking their horns. They're giving us hearts. They're giving us a thumbs up. The community knows the struggles that Kaiser's going with its staffing issues. They know that they can do better, and they're giving us their full support. So we're proudly out here. We're here for our patients. We're here for our community. Kaiser can do better.
And patient support, the level of patient support, Kevin, as you demand more staff so that more patients can be dealt with and wait on shorter lines.
Yes, that's correct. You know, we saw here in the Northwest, our urgent care and pharmacy hours slashed. They used to be open until 9. Now they're open till 7. And so our members are feeling that. When members call our appointment centers and they tell them to see their primary care provider, it's 4 to 8 weeks out. You know, that's a serious issue for them. They need care. We're known for our 5-star quality care. And that's what our community is demanding, is Kaiser go back to its roots and provide that excellent service that they're known for.
Kevin Darden, I want to thank you for being with us. Patient Access Representative, member of the union's local bargaining team at Kaiser Permanente's Sunnyside Medical Center in Clackamas, Oregon, and Meg Nemi, president of SEIU Local 49. They were both joining us from the picket line. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks so much for joining us.